Welcome everyone. This is our class 15 of our FastAPI course. Today we will learn how to write middleware, a powerful concept used in almost every real-world project. Middleware lets you write code that runs before the request reaches your route after the response is sent back. Middleware basically is working as a bridge to reach out your route. Whenever the request reaches your route, this will go through middleware, and whenever the response will go back to the user which hit this request, that time after the response is sent back, the middleware that time will also run on request before reaching the route, and after the response it's sent back to the user. On both cases the middleware will use. So it is very important concept when we apply the APIs and we apply the middlewares to secure our middlewares. So in this class you will learn how to add logging, track API performance, block or allow requests based on tokens, and like always code is explained line by line. You get an interview and scenario question and a assignment task to practice. Let's begin. If you are new on this channel, don't forget to subscribe and like. So I open my VS Code and here I am going to create the today class 15 class underscore 15.py. So let's first understand what is middleware. Middleware is a special function that runs before and after each request, and middleware is useful for logging, authentication, performance tracking. You don't need to add it to every route, it applies globally. So what is middleware? Middleware is a special function that runs before and after each request, useful for logging, authentication, performance tracking, and you don't need to add it to every route, it applies globally. Let me write the definition and feature of middleware. So middleware is a special function that runs before and after each request, useful for logging, authentication, performance tracking. You don't need to add it to every route. So let me create a simple example to understand you what I am saying. From FastAPI, import FastAPI and then request. Import time, create an app instance from FastAPI. After that, I am going to use the decorator app.middleware http async def get log underscore request this will be request and for next. After that I am to use colon here. Start time to time before request, print incoming request, and I'm going to use the Python string here, and I want to show the request dot method as well as the request dot URL. After this response await call underscore next request, and here after response duration equal to time dot time print f completed in duration colon 2f. Let me first complete my code, then I will understand you each and every line of my code. What I did till now, don't take attention, just focus on code what I am going to write. Seconds, and at the end I am going to return response. After that I'm going to use one route, the index def home. For the home or index page, return the dictionary with message colon welcome Code With Hafiz channel. Let me zoom out this. So basically this whole code is doing what? Logging request time with middleware. This whole code is doing logging request time with middleware. So from FastAPI I import the FastAPI and request. Import FastAPI to create the app. Why this I import FastAPI? To create my FastAPI app, and then I import the request. Why request? Import request so we can access incoming request details. I import request so we can access incoming request details with the help of this import request. After that I import time. Why time here? I am importing the time module to calculate how long the request took. After that, here on this line I am creating basically an instance of the FastAPI app, and on this line this tells FastAPI I want to run this middleware for every HTTP request. HTTP request have some methods. Let me write here get, post, put, delete. These are some popular method of HTTP. So this line basically telling the FastAPI I want to run this middleware for every HTTP request for get, post, put or delete. So on this line here basically I am defining a middleware function with name log underscore request. Inside this function, this request contains all information about the request like method URL. This request will be contains all information about the request like method and URL, which we are on the next lines which we are going to use here. And after that I am passing call underscore next. This is basically used to move the request forward to the actual route. The call underscore next basically used to move the request forward to the actual route. On this line here I want to record the time when the request is received. Record the time, records with received. We will use the calculate how long the full process takes. So after that I just print incoming request. Then I use the f string of Python. Here I am basically log what type of request in the method of request.method. This will give us the method which the request is using, as well as and which URL was hit. Let's say the method is get and the URL will be like this. This is the example on this line. So this line will print incoming request, the method request.method. Maybe it can be put, post, or delete, or get, and the request.url, what type of URL, request.url. This will print the request, and this will request.method will return the method of what type of request is coming. After that, here on this line, pass the request to the route. Here we are passing the incoming request call underscore next. The call underscore next is defined. This line is basically waits for the response to come back. This will call underscore next, pass the request to this route which I create here. After that, this line waits for the response to come back. After response, here I am basically calculating the total time it took from start to response, and on the next line here basically I am printing how long the request took. Maybe it will take 0.03 seconds or 0.05 seconds, and maybe X, and at the end I am going to return the response. Finally return the response back to the client. On this line here, when you visit this route runs, the middleware still runs before and after this function. Let's understand step by step. First step, client visits this URL. On step 2, middleware logs. Let me quickly write all the steps. So step process for this: whenever the client visits this, middleware logs the start time and the URL. Request go to the home on this. Request go to the home function in this function. Response is returned. Response is returned from home function. Middleware logs the time taken, and after that final response is sent to the client. So this is all the steps by step which request will flow. Before reaching the route, the middleware trigger, the middleware function log underscore request will be triggered, and when the response go back, that time also this log underscore request will be triggered. This middleware will be triggered. I hope this will make sense for you. Now it's time to check our code. I open my terminal in VS Code. Here I am going to run con class 15 app reload. So this is class underscore 15 of this class. The first API name for this class is class underscore 15.py. This is basically our first API app name. This is just for who understand each and every class concepts separately. That's why I use the class underscore 15. So basically this is the class underscore 15, that's why I take this name for my app name. And our app is running on this IP address and the port is 8000. And you see, when I visit this IP address and route in the port of our FastAPI, I am getting welcome to Code with Hafiz channel. And if I show you the terminal, incoming request, the method is get and the URL is this one, completed in 0.0 seconds. This is coming from here. Incoming request, request.method is get, and HTTP here, request.url, the URL is this, and after that complete in 0.0 seconds. This will come here, complete in duration seconds. And if you want to check this in your Swagger documentation which FastAPI provide us, you will visit this docs after 8000 port, and here I am getting my route app. Try it out, click on this, and you see the method is get, and if I execute this, you will see welcome to the Code with Hafiz channel. Here you see I'm getting the status code of our request is 200 in the response and completed in 0.0 seconds. This whole process. Let me execute one more time. Here you will see completed in 0.00 seconds. And here on this line you see duration colon dot to f. Basically here I am applying the indexing of Python. I want that after decimal point only 2, and this is the part of our f string, formatted string. F string is stand for formatted string in Python, and here you see it is used to control how numbers are displayed. This duration dot to f basically controlling how many numbers are displayed, especially decimal places. Basically this duration is holding the float number, and after colon, this colon means start a formatting rule, and after that here this whole part floating point number with 2 decimal places. This part is telling floating point number with 2 decimal places, and if I remove this part and save this, if I execute my request, and you will see completed in 0.00300097 till 7. So this is the beauty, how you will control how many decimal places after. Let me show you 3f. Save this, and if I execute this again, you will see I am getting 0.003 seconds, 3 decimal places for the duration. This duration is basically holding a float number, and this is the example of custom middleware, how you will define your own middleware according to your requirement in FastAPI. I hope this will make sense for you. If any doubt you know, please comment it. I am here to clear your doubt. As usual, now it's time for the interview question. What is middleware in FastAPI and why it is useful? So we understand in our today class, middleware is a special function that runs before and after every request in FastAPI. Simple definition, not complex. So middleware is a special function that runs before and after every request in FastAPI. It helps log requests, check authentication globally, and measure performance without repeating code in every route. And one scenario-based question regarding middleware: you want to plug any request that doesn't include a valid API key in headers. What should you use? If you want to plug any request that doesn't use any API key in headers, what should you use? To implement this scenario-based question, I'm going to create a dot middleware http def async def check API key request, then next token request dot headers dot get x API key. If token not equal to Hafiz, let's say secret, these are the some token you are using. So return what JSON response content equal to error unauthorized and the status code will be status code equal to 403 unauthorized 403 for unauthorized, and then I am going to return if token equal to Hafiz secret, then await for next and request. I am passing requesting it. I'm going to cut here from save this, and above here I define my custom middleware. I want to comment this and I want to apply this. We have to import from FastAPI dot responses import JSON response. After that, everything is okay. The problem solved for the importing. Basically, why we implement this? The goal is to implement this log unauthorized users by checking token. So basically this middleware is going to use to block the unauthorized user by checking their token. If the token is not provided, then block the user. Don't reach out to the route. And I import above here JSON response. This is used to return a custom JSON error like error. Here we implement this. This JSON response is basically, this is used to return a custom JSON error like error unauthorized, and here this is a special function that runs before and after every HTTP request. And on this line, async-def check underscore API underscore key holds detail like headers, method, URL, and inside this I am passing call underscore next. The call underscore next used to forward the request to the route. And after that, here on this line reads a custom header called x API key. This is just for testing. And on this line, if token is not equal to this token, Hafiz secret or Hafiz token, getting Hafiz token. If the token is missing or incorrect, that time this return an error with status code 403 equal to forbidden 403 here. For JSON response, this JSON response sends a custom message to the user with this message as well as the status code. If this condition is true, then the code will goes here. If this condition false, then the code will come here. Return. If the token is okay, that time continue. And this line basically forwards the request to the actual code, like in our case the home route. Let me test this in our Scopper documentation. As you see, when I visit this URL, I am getting error unauthorized. I am getting unauthorized till now. I open my Postman, and here I want to test this route. Provide headers. In header, click on header, and I am going to pass the key as well as Hafiz token. Select this. We are passing basically the headers for this to access this route unauthorized. And if I change this to Hafiz token, the value will be Hafiz token. That time I am getting welcome to Code With channel. Now I successfully reach this home route with my working token. So in this way you will apply the tokens and you will apply the custom middleware in FastAPI. Let me execute this one more time. Here you see 200 OK. Let me save this and run this. I am getting 403 forbidden unauthorized, and this 403 forbidden is coming from this JSON response counted unauthorized and the status code is 403. Now one and important mostly asked FastAPI interview question. In this question will also come in as you go for the backend interviews. How do you secure routes in FastAPI using middleware? So how do you secure routes in FastAPI using middleware? And we did this example. We understand here in this. We create an middleware. This is the basically a special function that checks the request headers like a token with this key, and the value for, and this middleware will be decide how the user will be block or allow the request using JSON response and call next. So we will secure our routes in FastAPI using middleware. We implement here how we will secure our routes in FastAPI. As usual, at the end of every class, we have a assignment task. Create a fast API. This is the assignment. Create a fast API app with this a middleware that checks for a header called X user type. If the value is not admin, return an error message. If the value is admin, allow the request to proceed. Create dashboard route to test it. This is the simple assignment. I hope you will do this very easily. If you face any problem, I am here to solve this problem for you. If you do this, then share and comment. Thanks for watching.